Welcome to Marriage, Let's Talk, hosted by legendary worldwide marriage encounter leader, Father Rosy Rosebrough, featuring Catholic married couples from around the world who demonstrate healthy communication for building better marriages. And now, here's Father Rosy.
Hi, Father Rosy here. I'm glad you could join us today. This podcast is not talking about marriage. It is where we're going to share how to create a better marriage through communicating feelings in authentic ways. We'd like to welcome you all to the Marriage Let's Talk podcast. And tonight we have Ron and Pam Bishop who are going to share with us. They've been doing this now for a year. Thank you for your gift of sharing your vulnerability and your relationship for these past 12, 13 months anyway. Thank you for that gift. Anything else been going on in your life the last 2 weeks? Different?
2 weeks.
Different.
You caught us in a slow period between travel.
Yeah.
We're good.
We have stuff coming up, though. We're going to the National Eucharistic Congress next week.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
So we're doing that. And then following that, we're going right to a work conference in Seattle. So it's back-to-back conferences. So we'll be busy that way.
That's close.
Yeah.
DC, Indianapolis, Seattle.
Yeah.
I was hoping that we would get the plane ride from Indianapolis to Seattle was like 4+ hours. I was like, I thought I was farther west than that.
You're not.
Yeah, no, I know. I figured, yeah.
Yeah, I was at the Congress in 1976, the last one, 48 years ago.
Mhm.
And that was very powerful for me. And there's a beautiful song, it's called We Do Believe. Each time they have a Congress, they have a song written for that special occasion. And it was chosen out of 180 those that were offered to be the song. And I've listened to it about 6 times. I can't quite get all the words yet, but it's yes, a woman of 180 people. She explained it on online, one of her interviews. But it's We Do Believe, and she starts it 2 different ways. Behold, behold, or we do believe. So I don't know which one mood she's in. Anyway, but it's a beautiful song.
So that's for this one?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
It's online already.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Just go Eucharistic Congress, new song selected. We do, or just We Do Believe Eucharistic Congress, and you get it. But you get all the words, let me know, because my ears are just, they're pretty good, but she sings, and I can't see, if I saw her lips, I probably could interpret the words anyway. So yes.
Very good.
You going from Friday or Wednesday through the weekend?
Yeah, we're leaving, bus from our parish leaves on Tuesday and pretty much an 10-hour plus trip on Tuesday there. And then we'll be there for Wednesday through Saturday. And then early Sunday morning, we're heading out to Seattle. And our daughter-in-law is out there too. So we'll get to visit her in Seattle. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to do this back-to-back conference thing, was to go see her, an opportunity to see her on the company's dime, so to speak.
Yes, I did the double hit. One time I did a 3 hit.
Ooh.
And that was Chuck Gallagher for a weekend up in Massachusetts. Then I went to Kent State for Marriage Encounter Convention. Then no. I first went to the Charismatic at the Steubenville for 5 days. Then I went to the Marriage Encounter Convention. I don't know, it was in Massachusetts. And then I came down from there to the weekend experience of Chuck Gallagher on Parish Renewal. 2.5 weeks of God. I was mush when I came back. God could say anything he wanted to tell me to do, and I've done it. I said, my Lord, God, you got 2.5 weeks. My gosh. Well, what topic have you chosen this evening for your sharing?
We are doing finances.
We chose a difficult topic to discuss, and so finances was a
Yeah.
difficult topic to discuss with us. So,
Begin. Go ahead and begin.
all right.
Okay. All right. We are sharing on a subject that is difficult for us to talk about with each other, let alone with people we have never met. Our desire is to show the listeners that even though a topic seems off limits, dialogue can soften the edges and allow healthy discussion. There are a variety of reasons that we don't often talk about our finances. Ron takes care of that arena of our lives, and I'm grateful that he does. Usually, I don't want to talk about all the details of things like our investments, life insurance, and other important pieces of our financial puzzle. Also, if I don't bring it up, I'm not likely to be restricted regarding what I purchase.
I avoid talking about finances because I don't want to be told, one, what to do, two, that I'm wrong or doing it the wrong way, or to have limits put on me. One of my attitudes that comes to mind is that I also don't want to give up my freedom on how I spend the money I earn. Finally, I do like numbers, and so they make sense to me. And I know I can get carried away talking about numbers. So I got to be careful about that. So not talking about our finances is a slippery slope for us. And what I mean by that is when we don't stop considering one another and being respectful, and then starting to make decisions that aren't made as a couple, but as you know, myself, it becomes a wedge between us and in our relationship. So we decided to dialogue on the question, why do I avoid talking with you about our finances? And how do I feel about that? Here's my letter to Pam. Dear Pam, I love you. I avoid talking with you about finances because I like the way I do it. But I also don't want to give up the freedom on how I spend the money I earn or be judged for not keeping a budget. So I feel disheartened about that. I know I could do better, and it's really our money, not mine. So I know I'm being stubborn and prideful. My disheartened feeling is like when I do something that I know is wrong, but I do it anyhow and I look back at it. It's like texting and driving in front of the children comes to mind. No, that's terribly wrong and a bad example. Or it's times when I'm lazy and I leave a mess in the kitchen or another room in the house and I come in and I see it still sitting there. Looking back as a teenager, it was like when I told a lie and that I was not living up to the standards I had set for myself. It's a deflated feeling, and it feels like a partially deflated balloon, limp and saggy. Tastes bitter, like baking chocolate. And it reminds me of arriving at a campsite and it being completely full, or that is so trashed that I can't be used. The intensity of my disheartened feeling is an 8. Love, Ron.
Here's my letter to Ron. Dear Ron, I avoid talking with you about finances because I don't want to have a discussion that bogs me down in a lot of boring detail. I also don't want you to set limits on what I can purchase. I feel cowardly for avoiding talking with you about our finances. My cowardly feeling is like a child in a classroom timidly putting their hand up, just halfway, to answer a question asked by the teacher. It sounds and is visually like the sights and sounds of a busy inner city where I prefer not to drive. My cowardly feeling is a dingy gray color, like a dirty, neglected building. An experience that comes to mind is driving in a torrential downpour, having to turn off the radio, slow down, put my flashers on, and lean forward to see where I'm going. My cowardly feeling is not speaking my mind on a topic that I believe in. It is wringing my hands, mulling over choices in my head, and trying to decide how and when to take action. It tastes like a wilted salad and is an 8 in intensity. Love, Pam.
Okay, so so at this point, looking at our letters, we both had 8 as an intensity for our letters, but our feelings. But I think your descriptions were very much more vivid than mine, and it was and much more complete in how you characterized your cowardly feeling. Also, you don't usually have a cowardly feeling very often, so I think maybe we should explore your feeling. What do you think?
Okay,
Nice.
sounds good.
All right. So let me try to experience cowardly. I'm thinking from eating, is it like trying a new restaurant, or maybe trying, you don't like sushi too, you're very hesitant with sushi anyhow. So maybe even trying something new, a new sushi flavor. What do you think about that?
Let's see. That's close to my cowardly feeling, but I think when talking about sushi specifically,
Okay.
I would be more cowardly to eat sushi that's been in the fridge for a few days. Like that would be really concerning to me, more so than just trying a new flavor.
Okay. All right. You did mention, you mentioned the city a bit here. Is it more intense or worse if it's like a brand new city? I mean, we go to DC a lot, and so we visit our daughters there, and you're pretty comfortable with that. But I'm just thinking, a new city where there's a lot of unknowns. Would that be a cowardly part of your cowardly feeling?
I think so. I think you're giving me too much credit for even DC. I feel confusion and fear driving in the city. I just feel really vulnerable. It's just part of who I am. So I do feel cowardly driving in a new city for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking about our daughters in DC. I know we've struggled with them about their clothing choices. Sometimes not always the most modest of clothing. What do you think about not confronting them about their choices in attire?
Right. So I said in my letter that, yeah, my cowardly feeling is not speaking my mind on something I believe in. And so when our girls are, in my opinion, immodestly dressed, right, if I don't confront them about it or just bring it up, yeah, that's me being cowardly for sure. Yeah.
Okay. I remember a time when we were traveling to Italy and we were waiting to get into our house at the time. And we saw a group of boys kind of felt like they were stalking us and started to approach us. It was just a bunch of boys, but we were in a foreign country, didn't speak the language. Not doing something about that, do you feel cowardly?
When
Yeah.
I didn't feel like necessarily I needed to do something, but I think just you bringing that up,
Mhm.
that is an experience that we shared,
Mhm.
that, kind of felt cowardly. So if you feel that, like
Yeah.
that was a scary moment,
Right.
then yeah, it would be experiencing my cowardly feeling.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Like,
Okay, so both of us felt the same when those men approached our family. I knew when Ron brought that up that he was experiencing my cowardly feeling. So this dialogue opened up the window for us to talk about our finances more openly. I know it is important for me to be up to date on important financial matters for our family. And since Ron understands my hesitancy and can now be compassionate, I'm willing to do more learning and be more open-minded about talking about it.
for me, it was helpful to have this conversation, this dialogue, because it helped me identify some of my attitudes and behaviors that came along with me about talking about money. I had this superiority attitude as well. So once I was able to look at myself and look at what I was doing and how I was acting, I began to realize these attitudes and behaviors. And that's what caused that disheartened feeling that I wasn't living up to or acting like a responsible husband in this area. So I want us to be on the same page. I want us to understand and work as a team and make decisions together, because we're a team, we're a couple, we're married, and that should be do that. So it was helpful to share this with Pam, so she could understand where I was coming from, and that then we could work together for a solution that we wanted, and that is to be more open about discussing our finances.
So it was helpful.
Thank you so much. I've worked with many couples over the years in marriage encounter and counseling, preparing couples and so forth. And I remember a couple, she was a nanny and part-time operator and a desk person, receptionist, I guess, at his work. His father and he had a delivery furniture business. And they always delivered from one place to another place, and also he had a couple of trucks. He would do things, the trucks he's doing, and her income was maybe like $5,000 a year, and his was about $90,000 a year doing two jobs all the time. And I said, how about a joint bank account? And the eyeballs just, like, well, I make the money, occurred to me, and they're living together 2 years already.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that, well, I thought you're going to share everything. I thought you share everything already. Obviously, you have not, because you have that separation of income, and I earned it, and the prestige that has. And so on the focus test, preparing for marriage, finance is one of the areas, and there's like 8 or 9 questions, and they get about 3 right on the finances. And so I said to them, you need to work this out, because it'll tear you apart if you're married very long, because that's not how you can live in a relationship where you really become one. And 3 weeks later, they came back and they said to me so beautifully, what's mine is hers, what's hers is mine. All the accounts now have on the spot. And the thing that struck me when one of the others in charge of the finances and signed the bills, like many guys will say, thank God she takes care of the bills, and all that kind of stuff. What you just displayed in the aftermath of the talking is that for you to be the financial caretaker is also a burden, because they trust you so much. If they want anything to do with it, or they have nothing to do with it, then the burden is not shared. And the glory is not shared. And so interesting, when they have a conversation like you're talking, many times the money is a sign of values. People say money's the issue. No, it's really the values of the issue. Is walking together as a team, which you just said, in openness, is that a value? If that's a value, then it should enter in all parts of our relationship, not just some. And that's what you displayed, is that if she knows some of my burden that I have sometimes trying to make decisions, and just another voice that helps me to, and sometimes we go, why are you asking that question for? Don't you trust me? We talked about this last year. We did, or assume that, and all of a sudden there's a different behavior and response emotionally and psychologically, and probably as a team. You just talked about how, again, that talking about that subject that is very touchy, and I always call there's a spectrum of like a clock going back and forth, like this, back and forth, and all of a sudden there's certain areas the Geiger counter hits that sucker and it goes jumping. And we have 2 or 3 of those areas, maybe 5. I don't know how many areas each one has differently. But if you keep talking about them and sharing, the Geiger counter doesn't go quite as far. It also occurs less often. but it's awfully hard to continually to talk about finances because every decision has an effect. Either I got this one by him or I got this by her, that didn't stumble block, and so is that kind of stuff you talked about? Is that what makes sense to you?
Yeah, it
Sure.
sure does.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's
Yeah.
hard to talk about each time.
Yeah, because so recently we were planning trips to visit our son in college for the fall.
Mhm.
So, and wanting to buy football tickets and all of that. So yeah, we were discussing how much everything was going to be costing and how that was feeling, a
Right.
little angsty and things like that, but wanting to do it, so feeling conflicted. So I thought it was really healthy to be able to talk about those things. And Ron was able to say about one of the Airbnbs that we were looking at, that's not going to work. And I was able to say, okay, let's keep looking for one that will work.
Right.
So there's just more respect and understanding between us, I think, when it comes to finances.
Too, and I also think that over time, I've also learned how to have that conversation with Pam. Like I was saying, I like numbers, so I like Excel spreadsheets, and so I have graphs and spreadsheets, and I'm like, here, this is the answer, and she's like, what? And so really getting more into the feeling and the anxiety that I might have about that, and putting it more into those terms that she's able to more relate to, has made those conversations much more fruitful. And I'm even more comfortable saying, well, I don't know, but I feel this certain way, that I don't have to have the numerical answer always at hand either. So, but we didn't learn that. We didn't learn that the day we said I do. That was a 32-year journey of sharing our finances and working through it.
Yeah, I just thought of talking about topics that, like my brother was dying of cancer many years ago in 1988, and he wrote about 12 to 15 pages in a notebook of all the things that he did. They wanted to hand on to his wife, so when he dies, it should not be caught without knowing something. He forgot one thing. He did not tell her to change the filter in the furnace.
Oh boy.
Well, $3,000 later, she said, what use is this book? It doesn't have it had everything in there possibly to go. And I'm thinking that in the filter, so I put in my book, my calendar, filter change. Well, I forgot to put it in this last 3 months ago. I didn't put it in there. I used to go through the whole year, but sometimes when the year comes around, I don't necessarily put the right time, but putting it into my calendar or things that are going to happen on a regular basis so I can make attention to it helps me. And if you're an I dotter and T crosser like you are, Ron, and figures the number, you may kind of, it would be an often good time, 3 or 4 times a year, or how many times, so you don't feel the burden. And we schedule it so we don't have to be hesitant or be cowardly to address issues, unless something else comes up that's more important than that. But, I thought many couples, sometimes you have a little something in your calendar. I put big letters, filter, big letters, like half the page. And so instead when I put an appointment in there or pickleball tournament, I see the filter, time to change the filter. Anyway, couples can do all kinds of options.
Yeah, that's a great idea to schedule a financial update type meeting.
And maybe even on all the kind of areas that might be that way. And I used to always, I'm not I can work in finances, but I'm a priest working in the pastoral ministry. But I always didn't want to leave the burden to my bookkeeper, that sharing that, knowing what's going on and knowing our budget And knowing the income and expenses helps me be a good pastor.
Mhm.
And not just say, well, find a way to do it. You know, and that's not a good pastoring approach. Or I want it anyway, you know. And also be careful that the people are concerned. You know, how do I affect people when I make this choice? For me as a pastor to spend this money. Yes.
Yeah, well,
Anything
thank-
else you want to share?
No, I think we're good. Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome all the people. We thank them very much for attending and to listening to us. And I'm going to thank Ron and Pam Bishop for their vulnerability and sharing finances, which is not, it's probably the top four topics not to talk about: sex, death, God, and possessions. And you hit one tonight that is very powerful. So thank you very much for that risking. And open the blaze of grass and experience God's joy once again each day. See you again.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Bye. I'm so grateful for the guests we had today who shared willingly themselves in their dialogue. And thank you for joining us. I look forward to the next episode when I join you again once more.
This has been Marriage, Let's Talk, sponsored by Worldwide Marriage Encounter, the foremost faith-inspired marriage enrichment organization in the world, providing married couples with transformative experiences through couples retreats, small groups, and more. Learn to nurture love in your marriage at wwme.org. Marriage, Let's Talk is a production of Mater Media, the apostolate that offers the Celebrate Catholic Marriage experience to energize and fortify married couples through parish events and the 7-step journey to joy. Find out more at matermedia.org.